Charles Fillmore, in his book Talks on Truth on page 51, wrote, "We may talk about the wisdom of God, but the love of God must be felt in the heart. It cannot be described, and one who has not felt it can have no concept of it from the descriptions of others. But the more we talk about love, the stronger it grows in consciousness. And if we persist in thinking loving thoughts and speaking loving words, we are sure to bring into our experience the feeling of that great love that is beyond description, the very love of God." Let us speak this affirmation. We have an affirmation? This affirmation of love, and intend together to feel the love of God as you do it. Okay. Soaring on the wings of divine love, I sizzle with joy, vitality, and enthusiasm. I spring forth with a mighty faith to live the ever-evolving vision implanted in my heart. And I'd just like to take an extra moment to thank you for all of the outreach, not only to the Super Bowl can soup thing, but also to the fact that we have been supporting Friendship House all along. And my last delivery of all of the toiletries and things that I take to them from you have now way over topped 3,000 items. So, and that does not include all the coats, the scarves, the hats, the mittens, and the Christmas things that we did a few years ago. That is strictly the toiletries that we take down for their mission as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Awesome.
So one of the things that I love about that particular quote is that it reminds us, even if we're not feeling the love of God in the moment that we turn our minds and our attention, that we contemplate this loving presence that's all around us, within us, that's omnipresent, as we turn to sacred readings and about the idea of love and the nature of this one universal presence of the divine that we call God or Spirit. This act of simply turning our attention there cultivates this atmosphere and embodiment of love so that it becomes more and more natural over time. So contemplating about it, talking about it, revisiting, what is this thing called love? This thing called another name for God. What is this? So this entire month we're going to be doing that, contemplating this not the love in the sense that we often think about it, on the human plane. We're talking about on the grander scale, this thing called agape love or divine love or unconditional love. And what happens when we embody that and bring that into our lives. And what I know from my own experience and my studies is that love, and a lot of this will sound familiar to you. Love casts out all fear, perfect love. And in my studies of the Aramaic Bible with Rocco Errico, the true translation of it is not really perfect love, it's all-inclusive love. So it's bringing love to all situations. So all-inclusive love casts out all fear. Love is the impulse behind creation. Ernest Holmes talks about that creation itself is made out of a love impulse. And that means our own creative process when we're creating something new in our lives, and as we get together with other people to create the new, the impulse, it's tapping into that impulse of love. That's what's behind it. It's behind all of the new visions that we have, the new ideas that pop into our minds, the solutions. It's love driven. Love is something that is purported to, and I've seen it over and over happen, heal all. Heal the mind, heal the body, heal the heart, heal our relationships, heal these bigger things that are going on the planet. Now, I don't know how many of you participated in the James Twyman peace effort that just happened recently. Anybody do that? Oh, you didn't know about it? Okay, yeah. Okay. Was on the 1st. He went over to Syria with a lot of several, I think there were 11 of them altogether, a delegation of 11, right on the border between where the ISIS controlled and I guess people who were more in alignment with where it was safe enough for him to go. Well, they were right on the border, and when they arrived, there was bombing taking place. And so, but they decided they're going to go ahead with it. And what he did is he sang his songs of peace. So any of you who were here several years ago, when we hosted him, he sang songs of peace in all the different religious cultures. So he sang songs of peace in Islam and from the Judaic tradition and Christian tradition and so on. He had with him in his delegation Muslim, Jewish, Christian people. He called it the Abrahamic gathering or something to that effect. So they were there as a solid group. Among the 2 or 3 million people who joined him for just 15 minutes last Monday were 2,000 Tibetan Buddhist monks who said that they would be meditating on peace during that time. And peace is just another form of love, isn't it? I mean, it's expressing love. And what happened is the bombing was still going on when they started singing. It stopped. The bombing stopped. It was quiet the whole time the concert was going on. And this was an outdoor concert facing, they were on a hillside facing the area where all the fighting was going on. It completely stopped. And then at the very end of it, there was one lone wolf call. And then all the other wolves joined in and they were calling out. So it was like punctuated by this affirmation from the animal world. And in addition to that, there was a rainbow around the sun. There were a lot of these beautiful indicators of the power of all of these people coming together all over the world in an effort to end violence in that area. So love is a powerful thing. Love is power. It's a healing power. It's a calming power. It's a soothing power. And that's why for that reason, I cannot get enough of it. I think there is just so much more we can explore about this concept of love. And I know so often, in fact, it even crossed my mind. I was thinking, I know what they're going to say. They're going to say, love again? Isn't there something else we can talk about? But this is the month of love. It's February, and I thought this is a great time to really deepen into this concept and this awareness and this sense of love. Another thing about love is what's been happening throughout this entire service. Laughter. When we're in a state of love, we are lighthearted. We look for the joy. We find ways to laugh at ourselves and to laugh at life circumstances. It's a wonderful thing. In fact, so this month theme is called On the Wings of Love. And there are different aspects of God's love. In fact, it's an acronym that spells the word love, and Dan is searching madly for it at this point so he can project it on the screen. I can see him back there going. So the first week today, we're talking about living in light and laughter. Next week, omnipresence, omnipotence, omniscience. V is vision and vitality, and E is enlightened enthusiasm. So it's no accident that Michelle gave her treatment the way she did today. It was perfect. It was right on cue. So even in the sacred scriptures, in Proverbs, it says, a cheerful heart is good medicine. And isn't that being proven in the medical world this day and age? I know you all read this stuff. Laughter is good medicine. I go back to the Anatomy of an Illness by Norman Cousins, and I'm reminded of his story of how he was diagnosed with this crippling, very painful disease that they said was incurable. And because he was a doctor, and because he knew that negative thoughts and emotions had a bad effect on his health and his body, he checked himself out and prescribed laughter to himself. He gave himself his own prescription. And he watched Mark's movies, and he watched reruns of Candid Camera, and anything he could to get him. And what? Yes, Laurel and Hardy. Yes, he just brought all the crazy, zany movies and things that he could get his hands on. And he noticed something. He noticed that just 10 minutes of watching something funny, really hilarious, and laughing gave him 4 hours of really good quality sleep, which was really good in his condition, at that time. And over time, he actually healed himself of that so-called incurable disease. And many of you may have had experiences. I've had an experience of healing something that they said I would have to live with the rest of my life. So that's why I feel like I can say it with authority, that it can be done. All things are possible in God. So a life of laughter. Think of some people who've spent their whole life in laughter. And I think of George Burns and Bob Hope. Both of those guys got up to the age of 100 at least, right? And their whole life was dedicated to making people laugh. So I'm sure that they had many good laughs themselves along the way. Particularly, I think of Bob Hope in those crazy movies that he used to create on the road to whatever. So laughter as good medicine. Michael Irwin of UCLA's School of Medicine says laughter releases endorphins. Those are the feel-good hormones that they suspect boosts our immunity. David Katz of Yale School of Public Health said that doctors used to think that the hard-charging type A's had the heightened risk of heart disease. And now we know, we've moved on from that, we know that it's the type D personality, someone who bottles up emotions, and that really is the cause of risk of various kinds of diseases. So laughter, good medicine, good medicine. With that in mind, I'd like to tell you a story. So there was a man from Delaware who made his transition and found himself delegated to hell. And the devil comes up to him and tells him, and of course, in New Thought, we do not. We believe that heaven and hell are states of mind, but you'll see how this works out. So anyway, the devil puts him to work breaking up rocks with a sledgehammer. And he comes back a few days later, and the guy is swinging his sledgehammer and whistling a happy tune. Oh, I forgot to tell you one important part. He pumped up the humidity, and he pumped up the heat, in addition to the rocks. And he came back, and this guy is there whistling a happy tune and just having a great time breaking up these rocks. And the devil looks at him, he's aghast. He can't believe that But this man is happy in the midst of all this. And he asks him, why are you so happy? And the Delaware man says, well, this reminds me of Rehoboth Beach. In the summer. It's great. I love it. So then the devil comes up with some other ideas. Okay, how about maybe I can send down some wind and some rain? So he does, and he sends this torrent of rain and wind down, and soon it becomes, hell becomes just one big, huge mud puddle. And so he comes back and he finds the Delaware guy, and the Delaware guy's pushing a wheelbarrow full of crushed rocks and singing and just having a great time. And he says, are you crazy? What's going on here? And the Delaware man says, oh, this reminds me of spring planting in Delaware. I used to love to, plant. I loved it. It was such a joy. So, the devil goes back to the drawing board, and he finally decides, okay, this is going to do it. This will seal the deal. I am going to cause the temperatures to plummet. And soon, before you know it, hell is covered over with snow and ice. A frozen wonderland. So anyway, he comes back and he's sure this time that he's gonna have put this guy in misery. And the guy is like dancing and jumping up with joy and so excited, and the devil's looking at him, it's like, how can you be so happy? I don't understand it. And the guy and the man says, oh my gosh, he said, I am so overjoyed. Do you know what this means? Hell is frozen over. This means that the Philadelphia Eagles have won the Super Bowl. Oh, you could tell I put my own little twist to that one. So had and lightheartedness. Another thing about that story that I think is so great, I wonder if that guy had at least heard some New Thought teachings, because not that that's where we're going to end up, but anyway, that whole story, that allegory, reminds me of the attitude that's required when we're in the midst of circumstances that are challenging, is to continue to look for the good, because we can be happy in the midst of any circumstance if we choose to be, right? I think that's the ultimate New Thought message in that. Okay. So, humor and lightheartedness, the presence of God's love. And really, truly, our ability to laugh in the midst of challenge is a demonstration, an indicator of God's love being present in our very being. So I have another story to share with you, and this is a story by Dr. Rachel Naomi Reman. And she wrote a book called Kitchen Table Wisdom. And she writes about a young man by the name of Jeff. This is a true story. This is, out of her book. She writes of a young man by the name of Jeff, and Jeff was a high school athlete. He was handsome. He was a popular, just a really delightful young man. And he developed bone cancer. And the doctors at that time decided they needed to amputate, so they cut off his leg. And when Jeff woke up, he was so full of bitterness and resentment and anger that he later turned to drugs and alcohol as a way to cope with the tremendous emotions. And a former coach found out about what was going on with him and referred him to Dr. Reman. And on the first visit with Dr. Reman, she asked him to draw a picture of himself, of his body. So he drew this vase with a crack in it. And then he ripped it up, threw it on the ground, and left at that point. and she put it in her desk and saved it, for future reference. And he continued to come and visit with her, and over time, he began to heal. He began to ask her how other young people coped with amputation and these kinds of things. And he began to heal, and he began to be filled with light. And soon she said, okay, now it's your time to go out and give back. And I want you to go visit other young amputees in the hospital. So he began to make his rounds, and one day he met this young woman who was 21 years old. And when he walked into her room, she turned her head immediately away and wouldn't acknowledge him. And he tried everything he could think of to connect with her, and it didn't work. And finally he had an idea, and he took his prosthetic leg off and turned on some music and hopped around wildly until he got her attention. And she finally just started cracking up and laughing, and she said, "Fella, if you can dance, then maybe I can sing." And as it unfolded a couple of years later, the two of them got married. But the way that this story ends is that he, on his very final time with Dr. Riemann, he came in smiling, just feeling full of joy, feeling, like a different person. And she pulled out the old drawing and showed it to him. And he said, "Oh, that drawing needs a little help." So he looked through her desk and found a yellow magic marker and drew streaks of light coming out of the crack. And he said to her, "It's that crack that let out the light." Every one of us are light beings, no matter how we appear at any point in time. We are made of light. And those cracks, those challenges in life, those things that we think are imperfections about us, in our personalities, our bodies, or whatever, those are really the opportunities for us to let out more light. More light. So it's a reminder of some of the teachings that we have been brought up with, many of us. Master Teacher Jesus said, "Ye are the light of the world." And he didn't say, you're going to be the light. Maybe someday you'll become the light. He said, you are the light. That means exactly as you are. It's time for us to drop the idea that we have to become better to be the light. We are the light. So I'd like you to turn to your neighbor and let them know you are the light. And let them know I am the light. And you are the light, Norman. Yes. Just feel that. That's so lovely. One of my favorite affirmations from John Randolph Price. I love this. I radiate with intensity the light of my divine self. And there are times when I've wanted to get myself recentered, and I'll just repeat that over and over again to myself. I radiate with intensity the light of my divine self. Try that. I radiate with intensity the light of my divine self. Isn't that awesome? I'd like to read this beautiful reading from Joel Goldsmith. He said, I am the light of the world and ever will be. If you accept this teaching, you will shine as the noonday sun in which there is no darkness at all. I am the light, seeks not for light, health, wealth, success, and progress, but knows that which I am seeking, I am. So think about that. Rather than I'm seeking light, health, wealth, success, and progress, I am light, health, wealth, success, and progress. I am that. Okay? And he says, sing to yourself noonday and night, I am the life, the truth, the light. Let the song of joy and gratitude and grateful recognition surge through your being, and know that the divine being is your being, your only being. This being is all-inclusive. There's that word, all-inclusive. Life, love, substance, law, and reality. You are the light of the world. As you rest in this consciousness, you will no longer find it necessary to overcome evil, to destroy error, or to battle with the mortal mind. I'm going to read that again. As you rest in the consciousness of knowing that you are the light, you no longer need to battle, to overcome evil, to destroy error, or to battle the mortal mind, because you're focusing on the truth. In and as the light, the darkness vanishes. So as we just think one thought of light and love of the divine, one thought, it's like a candle. It's like a candle. And just one little candle in a dark room does what? That's it. One thought is like the light, like lighting a candle in the darkness. It dispels the darkness. That's why we talk about the power of love. It is a power that dispels the darkness instantaneously. I am the light, that thought, brings light to our troubled cells, causing them to relax and return to their perfect pattern. It lights up our vibration and attracts the good that life has to offer. One of the things one of the quotes of Charles Fillmore that I was just reading the other night basically says, if you've done all of the things for the law of attraction that you can think of, you have the vision and blah, 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 and it's not happening, he said, it's because you haven't developed love fully. It's because love is the energy that attracts. Love is the energy that attracts. So, I want to share with you one final story and then we'll be done. This is the idea of a lightning bug. So, we know God loves us so much that we're provided with all of these things on the planet and so on to thrive, right? Well, what if God created things like lightning bugs simply for the joy of it? Think of a lightning bug. It has a glowing rear end. Right? And then think about the summer nights where they're just sparkling all over the place. Don't you love to run out and see the lightning bugs? Maybe some things are created simply for the joy of it. Maybe God has a sense of humor. Yes? Think about that. So let's turn within. And I would like you just to take a moment and just take that smile that I just saw on your faces as you were thinking about the lightning bug, and that is a gift of humor, of lightheartedness from the divine, a reminder to pump up the light with our laughter. And then I'd like you to think of one area in your life, in someone else's life, or in the world where you would like to shine that light, knowing that it's the power, the healing power of light and love itself. So let's just take a moment and shine that in the direction of someone we love, our own life, or someplace in the world. And take a deep breath. And let's declare together, and so it is. Yes.